Hello, today we are going through the next part of the Aldenham 2015 maths paper. So without any further ado, let's get straight into these questions. So here we have some conversion questions. Bob is very proud of his new car. Well done, Bob. It is 370 centimeters long. Convert 370 centimeters into meters. So we need to know conversion. So we know 100 centimeters is 1 meter. And therefore, we divide this 370 by 100. Remember how we do it? 370.0, 2 bunny hops back. So we have 3.7 meters. And now for part B, we have convert 370 centimeters into millimeters. So what's the rule here? 1 centimeter is 1,000 millimeters. So now, to convert it into millimeters, we multiply by 1,000, or we add 3 zeros. So here it's going to be 370,000 millimeters. So here for question 23, we're told a recipe, and we have to work out how much of the ingredients we need for the cupcakes that we want to make. So if we know that in terms of flour, it takes 180 grams of flour to make 12 cupcakes. We can write it down. So we have flour and we have cupcakes, CC, cupcakes. It takes 180 grams of flour to make 12 cupcakes. But we're trying to work out how much flour we need to make 36, put it in red, 36 cupcakes. Well, what do we do here? Well, to go from 12 to 36, we can multiply by 3. And therefore, we can do the same thing to go from the amount of flour we need for 12 cupcakes to the amount of flour we need for 36 cupcakes. We do 180 multiplied by 3. What's 18 times 3? Well, 18 times 3, 18 times 3 is 10 times 3 and 8 times 3. 10 times 3 is 30, 8 times 3 is 24. 30, 24, 54. So 180 times 3 is going to be 540. So therefore we need 540 grams of flour to cater for 36 cupcakes. So now for part B, we're told that Lucy has 1 kilogram of caster sugar. Given that she had plenty of all the other ingredients, how many cupcakes can she make? So we're only going to be limited by the amount of caster sugar that Lucy has. Nothing else. We have plenty of everything else. It's in abundance. So we need to work out how many cupcakes can be made with 1 kilogram of caster sugar. How do we do that? Well, we construct the same scenario here. It's all ratios. So we know already that caster sugar, CS. Cupcakes, CC. What numbers do we know already? We know it takes 200 grams of caster sugar to bake 12 cupcakes. But we have 1 kilogram of caster sugar, which is 1,000 grams. We have to make sure we convert it. How many cupcakes does this give us? Well, here we multiply by 5 to go from 200 to 1,000. So here we're also going to multiply by 5, giving us 60. So this means she can make 60 cupcakes. Okay, so here for this question, we see we have to add some extra faces to this diagram here in order to make it a net of this right-angled triangular prism that we see up here. So first of all, let's take a look at what we have already in this diagram. We can see we have this triangle here, and then we have this rectangle over here. And if we look very closely, we should be able to tell that this triangle and this rectangle represents this face and this face around the back of this triangular prism. We can count the lengths of the sides to confirm. We see this triangle is 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3, 4 across, same here, 4 across, 3 up or down. And then this rectangle, put it in red, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across and 1, 2, 3 down, which we see right here. 6 across, shown here, and 3 up or down once again. So if we go to our right-angled triangular prism, we've already done these faces in blue. So now we have to do the other faces in red, which is going to be this large face at the front, this other triangle, and then finally this face at the bottom. So let's get started on that. Let's do what's easy first, right? We have the other triangle on the other side, and this should be exactly the same as this triangle, but just on the other side of the rectangle. Pretty simple, right? So let's put that in right now. It's going to go 4 across, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 up. So let's join these together. Okay, so we have this triangle. Then let's put in this big face at the top, this one right here. We see that this one is going to be all the way, so 6 centimeters across, and then up. Do we know how far up it is? Well, right here it shows us it's going to be 5 centimeters up. So 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it lines up perfectly. So let's draw this in. And visually, this should make sense to us, because if you imagine it, if we have this face at the top over here and we open up this right-angled triangular prism, then this face at the top should be pointing in this direction, right? So it makes sense that it's going directly up in this direction. And then finally, we have the face at the bottom. We can't forget that one. And that's the one just at the bottom here. We see for this face again, it's going to be 6 across. But then if you think about how far down it's going to be, well, it's going to be 4 centimeters down. That's the depth of the rectangle. So therefore we have the 6 across already, but we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. And then all the way across. So this should be the net of this right-angled triangular prism. Just take it step by step, section by section, and we should come out with the correct answer. So here for this next question, we have which of these amounts is the cheaper? Circle your answer. On the left-hand side, we have 25% of £64. And on the right-hand side, in the right corner, we have 20% of £75. Show your workings. Okay, so we can actually use mental maths here. We don't have to go through the whole long process of doing 25 over 100 multiplied by 64 over 1. I mean, it would work, but we can save a lot of time by being smart and using mental maths. What do I mean? Well, we can actually work out 25% of £64 using standard percentages. And what that means is using percentages that we are very familiar with. And these would be percentages like 50%, 10%, 1%. So let's take this first scenario, for example, 25% of £64. Well, 25% is half of 50%. And we can work out 50% of £64 very simple or very easily, because all we do is divide by 2. So we have 50% of £64 being £32. And therefore 25% must be half of that, which is £16. So on the left-hand side, we have £16. And even easier on the right-hand side, because we have 20% of 75. Well, we know 10% is a standard percentage. We can work it out very quickly without much calculation, without much thought. That's going to be simply dividing by 10 or doing one bunny hop back, giving us £7.50. And if 10% is £7.50, then 20% is going to be double of £7.50 or £15. So we can see it's very close, but the boxer in the right corner just wins by £1 difference. The winner is 20% of £75. This is the smaller, cheaper amount. So now we have to fill in the gaps to answer this question. For part A, we're told something over 18 plus 1 over 18 equals 1 over 2. We can work this out by using our knowledge of fractions. Why? Because 1 over 2, yes, it's a half, but also it's simply telling us that our numerator, 1 in this case, is half of our denominator, 2 in this case. So that means on the left-hand side of this equation, we have something over 18 plus something else over 18. Our common denominator is 18, which means when we add these two fractions together, that common denominator will stay as 18, right? It's not going to turn into 36. That's not how fractions work. It will stay as 18. So we have something over 18. But now we go back to what we said over here. If we know for it to end up as a half, the numerator has to be half the denominator. This has to be 9. And if this has to be 9, this has to be 8, because 8 plus 1 is 9. So therefore, the gap has to be 8. 8 is our answer. And then for part B, we have something over 24 plus 1 over 3 equals a half. So we have the same scenario of a half, numerator being half of the denominator. The trick here is simply finding the common denominator and changing the fractions to fit that common denominator. And in this case, it's going to be 24. So we can transform 1 over 3 by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by 8. This gives us 8 over 24. And now we have that common denominator. We know, put it in a different color, we know overall we want it to end up with 12 over 24 because that represents a half, where again the numerator is half of the denominator. Yes, understood? So, with that knowledge, we now know that this numerator, this gap, must be 4, because 4 plus 8 gives us that 12 that we were looking for. So the answer must be 4. This is our answer. Okay, so that is all for today. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you're the first to know when the next video is released. And on that note, I will see you all next time.